I'm always up for a mystery, and Apple is bringing us Women in Blue, or Las Azules. It's a dramatic murder mystery series that uses historical facts to frame the tale. But does this get too preachy for its own good? In 1970, 4 women defy the ultraconservative norms of the time and join Mexico's first female police force, only to discover that their squad is a publicity stunt to distract the media from a brutal serial killer. As the body count grows, the women set up a secret investigation to achieve what no male officer has been able to do and bring the serial killer to justice. So this is a 10-episode miniseries where each of the episodes are around that 50-ish minute mark. Now, this is pretty typical of Apple's series. The first 2 are going to drop together, and then we'll get an episode a week until the conclusion. Now, this uses real events to inspire the story that we watch play out. When the new Mexican president wants to refresh and drastically improve the public image of the police, an opportunity for women to join the force is made available. Now, unbeknownst to the applicants, it's all just a PR move to placate the public while the hunt for a serial killer is gripping the city. Now, during the training phase, we're given montages of skill tests, physical challenges, and rigorous preparation just in order to thin the crowd and then land on the small group that is going to join the force. Now, while we get to see several of these and even have the camera focus on certain individuals, the story quickly lands on just 4 women who will drive the show and then work the serial killer case. As was the time, we get to see outdated mindsets of traditional gender roles. Women were really only to be homemakers if they had children, and then their highest responsibility was to take care of the family and make sure that the household ran smoothly for the husband. This weaves its way in and around the plot points, sometimes creating frustrating or angering moments, but also building suspicion and intrigue thanks to how women are viewed. This also is showcased well within the police department, showing the uphill battle the female officers had in order to just do more than stand in the park and give directions to some tourists. Now, it may sound like this could be a preachy and man-hating sort of show. All men bad, women good. Well, fag, you can pick your club up off the floor. This isn't cursing men. Instead, it's illustrating how hubris from any gender can blind to facts and possibilities. And I like, too, how we get to watch one of the female officers struggle with how she feels about being at work and not being home for her kids. She wavers, argues with herself, and then the frustrating part of her inner dialogue discussion is that she is just excellent at being a mom, but also insanely awesome at being an officer. She's observant, she listens, she's open-minded, and then puts pieces together faster than most. Now, I appreciated the personal dilemma that was showcased with her, rather than just being a flat or one-dimensional character within the story. But her struggle is what is that frustrating moment because of how good she is at both of them. We see her desires. We don't want her to go back to her home and give up her dreams of being an officer, but we also want her to be able to take care of her family. Now, the other 3 women shine in their performances too, creating characters that are nuanced and complex, but also drastically different so that they each complement each other's shortcomings. For the mystery portion of this, I was riveted. I had the luxury to have access to all of the episodes, so I binged it and then couldn't get to the next episode fast enough. Just as a warning, at the end of each episode, it says, coming up next time on, or coming up on the next episode, whatever it is, I didn't watch it because I know it's going to give spoilers, so you may want to stay away from that. But back to this, we're given enough possibilities within the mystery so that I had 2 or 3 viable suspects. Now, I did turn out to be correct in one of my guesses. I think you were going to be able to guess it too. The camera unfortunately gives prominence at times, and then it doesn't obscure the perp as well as I had hoped. Up until that point, though, of the reveal, I was still drawn in. I was loving how the mystery was building. And as it went along, as the officers, both male and female, they're continuing to work the case, there is this building urgency. It feels as if they're racing against time. And in a way, they actually are. The cops are trying to catch the killer before that person kills again. Now, the production design and the costumes, they really sell this as taking place in the 70s. The female officers look like they're flight attendants. They've got matching bright blue jackets and skirts. Then they wear knee-high boots. It's all about image and no practicality. Some of the male detectives wear those iconic orangish leather jackets, something similar that Starsky or Hutch might be wearing, along then with ridiculously large collared shirts that the men wore. There's also one point where the Mexican president is shown on screen, and he's dressed for a party. The size of his bow tie is comically huge. Now, the chief of police, he is also a sight to behold. He's got large, wild eyebrows, sideburns that are pretty much out of control, and then he constantly wears these aviators that he thinks makes him look cool, but really makes him end up looking like some skeevy porn director. And I think my largest drawback for this series is that a major reveal comes in episode 8, leaving 2 full episodes to wrap up the narrative. Now, some of this does work because we now have a chase on our hands, and it's exciting and nerve-wracking. But 90-ish minutes between the final 2 episodes, it is a lot just for a chase. Now, I think the final episode loses steam and then it drags the story out longer than necessary, even though I really was enjoying the character arcs that we get to see. And despite the semi-long finale, this manages to be a fairly well-rounded story, giving us equal parts emotional drama, heart-pounding mystery, and poignant social commentary. All 3 seamlessly blend, just complementing rather than fighting for prominence. There's also a great deal of character growth displayed in so many of the roles. Very few of the characters remain static, and those that do are used as the cautionary tales of what happens when you're stuck in your ways and you refuse the possibility of positive change. And even though this is a serious show, and we do get to see some dire and vicious actions, there's occasionally small moments that are a little lighter, allowing us to take a beat and recenter before diving back into the horrifying details. Also, beware that there are a few times when we're shown, even briefly, images of domestic assault. And it's tough and brutal, but it's not gratuitous, thankfully. It's only giving us the small visual necessary for context, then the camera will pan away, because we're more than aware of what's happening next. The case itself is also a dark one. The media dubbed the killer the undresser because of what they do to their victims. Now, I'm glad when we see the victims, the camera doesn't linger. Again, only giving us tiny glimpses to understand the scene, and then using the other characters' reactions to drive the emotion home. Now, I didn't know what to expect going into this. I hadn't watched a trailer, and honestly, I haven't been too impressed with the historical dramas that Apple has put out before. This one, though, it blew me away. Las Azules balances the social critiques of gender inequality with the intrigue and thrills of a serial killer mystery, definitely blending the genres to deliver an impactful and enthralling story. The actors effectively deliver indelible performances, showcasing a variety of strengths and vulnerabilities to increase the overall emotional investment. And while the final 2 episodes do lose some of their momentum thanks to a premature reveal, the execution as a whole is engaging and memorable. There's sex, maybe a tiny bit of nudity, a lot of profanity, and then some very brutal violence, including sexual and domestic assault. I give Women in Blue, or Las Azules, 4.5 out of 5 couches. So what's on your binge list for the week? I would love to hear about what you're watching in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.